Welcome back, Astro listeners, to this eclipse edition of the Star Lady Soul Reader Network. This is Media Monk, and as usual, I have our shining star of the zodiac, Star Lady. Hi, Star Lady.
Hello, Media Monk.
And we all know Star Lady is Kim Marie, the managing director for our network. EAN continues to certify new evolutionary astrologers, but we have a lot of materials on our website for people just looking for that next level of soul growth through evolutionary astrology. So go to that, www.evolutionaryastrology.net. Check out the Astro Library page, the EA course page, the forecasting webinars page. A lot of things to get started. So with that, I'll also give our number because a lot of people want sessions this time of year. We're heading into the fall season, fall-winter. So 605-348-5111 to do that, or you can also find that personal consultation page on that website. So with that, thank you for doing the research in advance, Star Lady, because I know we have a lot going on macro levels and personal levels. So I'll turn it over to you.
Well, there you go. Macro is all those outer planets, even though we all have personal relationships with them. And micro is the inner planets, and they've got a fair amount of oppositions to each other going on. We did have Pluto turn stationary direct right around the time period of the Hamas attack on Israel. Pluto turned stationary direct October 10th, 2753 Capricorn, minutes from the USA natal Pluto, which I talked about last podcast. We're still in our new beginnings of rebirthing ourselves as a country here in the United States. Stay tuned with that. But we now have our second planet getting ready to go direct out of the outer planets. And that's going to be Saturn turning stationary direct. Hold on just a sec here. Where is my little... Oh, there it is. November 4th. At 0.5 degrees Pisces. Jupiter and Saturn have 4 months retrograde cycles, so Saturn went retrograde mid-June at 7 Pisces, so it's finishing up a real strong review of what's reality, Saturn, what's illusion, Neptune, Pisces. And so Saturn turning stationary direct tends to be like a reality check for all of us. And it's going to come just a few days after the lunar eclipse that everybody is talking about. We're right in the midst of a south node eclipse season. That means the sun is traveling with the south node or the moon's node. South node eclipse seasons have us reviewing the past. If you are a listener who pays any attention to the outer world collective cycles, you feel just a little bit bummed. That'd be my word. Because here we are having 2 more countries fighting with each other over religious reasons, over land and territory reasons, and for someone like me, I'm just still in this state of almost shock that we still fight with each other in this country when there's more important things like survival of the planet going on, and here we are just destroying. That can be some of that Scorpio energy that we can see with this lunar eclipse. First of all, that lunar eclipse is Saturday, October 28th at 5 degrees, Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Taurus. And what's going on right with that lunar eclipse is the fact that the day after, Mercury conjunction Mars on October 29th at 12 Scorpio, and they're both opposing Jupiter at 11 Taurus. So we not only have the Sun-Moon in opposition to each other on this lunar eclipse, we have Mercury-Mars with the Sun, and we have the Moon with Jupiter. And it just has this tendency with this Scorpio-Taurus energy to have us retrenching in, getting stuck, fixed modality, mine, yours, us, them. I mean, you know, Scorpio and Taurus can be two, the polarity that can blow up the world almost. My resources, Taurus, versus what resources we share, Scorpio. My power over Scorpio versus, you know, Taurus wanting its own autonomy. We can see these themes very easily in the whole Israeli-Hamas situation and the literal just destruction of land and buildings and innocent people on both sides. And I'll just leave it at that. This is that Plutonian energy of Scorpio that can come up from out of the surface, and you don't know how the landscape is going to turn out yet. In the midst of that, we have, again, these inner planets making oppositions to the outer planets. The day of the eclipse, Mars in Scorpio opposes Jupiter in Taurus, and that can be the war and the explosion of energy, including emotional energy in our own lives. Here we are in the United States with another mass shooting, the worst one so far in 2023. And obviously it disturbs soul who is still on the loose at the time of recording this podcast and, you know, creating terror for the local people around there, not to mention the loss of those who are left grieving their loved ones. You know, just the shock of this and the surprise of this one more time. Again, then the day also on the solar eclipse right after, lunar eclipse right after it, Mercury quickly follows and opposes Jupiter. Left brain, right brain, you know, and these oppositions can be these diametrically opposed opinions that we have. Those who say that it's not a gun issue, it is a mental health issue, or it is a whatever humanitarian issue. Well, if you say that, then let's support the social programs that can take care of these wounded souls. You can't cast blame if you're not willing to take responsibility. So, after that, then we have the Sun make its opposition to Jupiter November 3rd, right before Pluto goes direct. While we get in the midst of that, Venus in Virgo opposes Neptune in Pisces November 3rd. Then Mercury moves along and opposes Uranus when Saturn goes direct. Mercury November 4th at 21.5 Scorpio, opposing Uranus retrograde at 21.5 degrees Taurus. You get the point here? We have these outer planets retrograde with the inner planets coming along in the opposite area of the circle, making these great oppositions. And so the polarities on the planet, in the country of the United States, in our families, with our loved ones, you know, in our communities, the polarities are just out there, almost exasperating anything that's going on. So it becomes very, very important with this South Node in Libra that we find some way to compromise, that we find some way to agree to disagree. We find some way to get along in the same space in our communities, families, in this world. And that North Node in Aries, the initiation of independence, is, I think, initiating a different way to go forward. You know, here's the ruler of Aries, Mars, just coming off that South Node, hanging out in that part of the circle, and we can go for the power over, power under, or we can use this North Node in the Aries energy to go forward differently. I mean, war does not create peace. And it is so extremely hard for the consensus world to not fight back. It is hard for us to step back and breathe and see if we can negotiate a better way forward, allowing two countries to live beside each other in peace and autonomy, allowing communities to find ways to take care of the least of us, those who are wounded, those who are mentally and emotionally distorted from reality and don't know how to get along with others. You know the saying, it takes a village, that biblical saying, when you take care of the least of us? These are our choices within opposition. Me versus you, us versus them. And how far do we want to go down that path of obliteration of the opposites? How do we find a balance? The two halves make the whole. So this is the energy that we're going through. I said this before, the Scorpio mantra, I metamorphose myself with evolving self-reliance. So yes, this lunar eclipse moon on Jupiter really is learning to be self-sustaining and taking care of ourselves. But as we learn to do that, then we also have to learn how to take care of others and how to get along with others. The only way we will create any sense of lasting peace on the planet. It is a little hard to feel peaceful, to feel okay, to even feel happy if you watch what's going on in the masses right now. And yet, it is exactly what it is there for each of us to do. Saturn turning stationary direct, November 4th, 0.5 Pisces. What are the new realities that are facing us? How is your reality going forward in your world? How best do you have one foot on the ground in practical reality and the other foot leading you forward with Saturn's inspiration in Pisces and creating new realities? Going to be in an effort of doing that regardless of what's going on with the rest of the planet. Now, one of the things that gets mixed into this is we are having the second of 3 Jupiter-Neptune aspects. It will come along exact for the second time, November 5th. This is Jupiter moving 45 degrees beyond Neptune. It was in April of 2022 that Jupiter made a conjunction one time to Neptune. I want to say it was about 20, 21, 22 degrees Pisces. Jupiter's conscious beliefs. Neptune is our deepest unconscious beliefs. Neptune is traveling in its own sign, Pisces. And so it initiated a 13-year cycle between them of evolving our belief systems. And so 3 times now, Jupiter will make that 45-degree mark from Neptune, new phase to crescent phase, yang outward moving energy to yin inward moving energy. So it can be part of that undercurrent that can feel like it's creating a crisis in our beliefs. And it can feel like there's some confusion. Am I this or that? Do I want this or that? Am I with them or them? And so it's the underlying current to these oppositions that we have between inner and outer planets. And it is, crescent phase is an inner struggle. And it means that we have to take these evolving beliefs, Jupiter, Neptune, and we now have to move forward grounding them. We have to internalize them. So what do I believe? Is the world a safe place or a dangerous place? Am I okay in my world? Am I okay in my reality moving forward, Saturn? Or are there some adjustments that I have to make? How do I energize peace in the world? How do I energize peace within my own family with whatever's going on? How do I stand up for what I perceive as highest and best? How do I speak up to others? How do I work, Jupiter, Neptune, to find a common ground with my beliefs and others in their beliefs? How do we figure out how to get along on this planet in some way? Unless we get consumed with war going on in a new place, we still have it going on with Ukraine and Russia. And we still have the war called climate change going on. Category 5 hurricane, do they call them hurricanes on that side of the, yes, I think we still call them hurricanes on the western part of North America. Acapulco got hit. A hurricane went from, I don't know if it was 0 or 1 to category 5, our highest category, in 12 hours. And came along and just busted up a city of 1 million people. Yeah, stay tuned to the future, everybody, with our human interference on the planet. By the way, I'm prepping a private workshop on the 4 outer planets ingressing new signs. And by the time of the new moon podcast, we'll have that workshop ready for public purchase and consumption. So I have been immersed in the 4 outer planets, which includes Chiron, moving into new signs of the zodiac for the next 7 to 20 years in 23, 25, 25, and 26. But I'm like, oh boy, I need some of this grounding in Taurus of my own with the planetary changes and aspects that are going to take place yet within this decade. So, on this lunar eclipse, I guess one of the things I would say, how are you learning to conserve your own resources? How are you learning to share resources with the world? How are you learning to be okay with whatever changes are happening wherever you live? I don't think there's a one of us that isn't going to be affected by climate change throughout the rest of this decade. Stay tuned. The lunar eclipse does have a grand trine in Earth going on. Venus in Virgo, trining Pluto direct at 28 Capricorn, starting Uranus retrograde at 22 Taurus. And so if we make that effort to be at peace and really review what we value in our material world, we can simplify. We can find ourselves a little more at peace than maybe the general consensus. But the extremes of that is the trines can bring the intense disturbance to the material world. Category 5 cyclone, bombing of the homes of 2 million people in a very small square area of planet Earth. It can go both ways, So what are you vibrating? How are you choosing to relate to source energy, Jupiter, Neptune? How is it inspiring you, Saturn direct, to go forward in your world? How is it helping you with your values, with the material? How are you learning to take better care of yourself with food, clothing, and shelter? These can be some of the things that we may be moving through. If it feels like an intense energy, Scorpio, it's because it is. And if you don't feel it, lucky you. May you be blessed in that way as long as you can. However, I think it's going to be hard to live on planet Earth throughout the rest of this decade without becoming aware of our human interference. All right, Media Monk, help me lighten things up. It's been a little intense for this Scorpio. Oh, so the lunar eclipse was right on my Scorpio stellium.
And on my natal moon.
In your natal moon, I think I've been picking up on it quite deeply emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. As above, so below. As within, so without. And you said it succinctly that you can't be immune to it unless you're really good at suppressing.
I didn't mention Media Monk. I did forget to mention that Venus is going to go into Libra from November 8th through December 4th, and that'll be some compromise and negotiating energy if we don't draw lines in the sand. Might be good for some socializing, lightening things up a little bit. And that's going to be followed by Mercury going into Sagittarius November 10th through December 1st. And so Mercury in Sag also could help us lighten up a little bit from Scorpio and have some honest discussions. Sagittarius. Distortion is, buying into some type of lie or belief that doesn't, align with what's going on. So, but use maybe as we move into that first part of November, Venus in Libra and Mercury in Sag. Use it to lighten up a little bit. Use it to utilize it to see a path forward, creating your own new reality, Saturn direct.
Yeah, that feels good. A good way to end the podcast is on a little high note. And don't, on the way there, don't be afraid to feel the feelings. So until next time, move with joy and lots of passion on this always emotional journey to the core of our souls. Thanks for tuning in.